Trump's now calling for negative rates. The greatest economy ever needs zero rates, qualitative easing, tax cuts, trillion-dollar deficits, and more. You know, if you go on Twitter, you're going to find a lot of opinions about this economy. Now, I'm not here to try and say one way or the other what's going to happen, because I'm well aware that the consequences of taking an opinion on this could have me branded as being fake news. But the reality is that there are some critiques that could be made with this real estate market and some of the changes that have been made for this real estate market. And some of the changes we're going to cover today are designed so that you will take notice and be aware of what's really going on, so you can advise your clients and your customers so they can sell their property as quickly as they need to, any unwanted properties that they have. So let's just take a quick back tour in history. Let me tell you a little story, if I might be so bold. If you'd let me take some time today and tell you a little story. You know, back in 2013, Opendoor first began. You know, they came out. You know, the concept is simple enough. I mean, sell your home to the iBuyer and eliminate the need to list your home. It certainly seems simple enough. I mean, when you think about it, convenience and a certainty of getting your home actually sold was key to the Opendoor concept. You know, and when you think about it, for a lot of customers who are looking to sell their property, an unwanted property, especially a rental or unwanted investment property, or perhaps an inherited property, that made a lot of sense. And 2 years later, you know, OfferPad came along in 2015, eager to jump onto this iBuyer model. You know, iBuyer models had not really been around quite to this extent before, and a flashy website and promises of local moves and an ease of closing and a simple submission now made this a very competitive game. I mean, when you think about it, what made this so easy for people are these automated valuation models, computerized models of what prices should or shouldn't be in a particular area, made it very easy for investors out of state to gather data as an aggregate and make decisions about whether or not they should make an offer on a property. And they could do this very quickly, usually within 5 minutes. And of course, Zillow, being a giant on the sidelines, you know, they decided to enter the iBuyer game themselves back in 2017. You know, so quickly, the real estate landscape here is changing. I mean, when you think about it, you've got OfferPad, Zillow, you know, all iBuyers, you've got individual investors in the local marketplaces, all offering to buy unwanted properties. And a lot of times they're relying heavily on these automated mortgage value software. You know, and this reliance on this, I believe, is a fallacy. It's something to be aware of. It's something that could be a potential problem. Because when you think about it, Zillow jumped right into the game. You know, they said, look, we'll make you an offer on your property. You know, all you have to do is just go ahead and tell us a lot about your property. Just tell us about your home. Gosh, I mean, when you think about it, they're getting data from the homeowner, photographs, floor plans. This is why my home is worth more than the neighbor down the street. And Zillow's collecting all of this data. When they make an offer on a property, it gives them a lot of data. And now when you think about it, if Zillow and Opendoor and OfferPad's all in this game, and the ever-increasing arm race for customer acquisition and data mining, within 6 months, Opendoor gets into the mortgage business. Right? The rise of instant offers and iBuyers and mortgages that are available from these sites is now available. The mortgages you can get from your iPad or from your phone, you can see a property very easily at the snap of a button. And when you think about it, the rise of offers throughout major metropolitan areas and instant offers just explodes through the marketplace. The popularity of it becomes very, very popular. There's only one place to go. You've bought the properties and you've got the data, right? I mean, what's the next logical step? If you're a large data company and you're trying to go ahead and get into the real estate game, well, It's time to get into the mortgage lending business, right? I mean, OfferPad jumps up with Loan Depot and begins their own loan mortgage company. I mean, not to be outdone, right? In the spring of 2018, Zillow begins providing home loans under Zillow Mortgage. You know, they rebranded Mortgage Lenders of America to provide mortgage services. Now imagine the cluster that's going on. You've got iBuyers, you've got 3 different companies vying for this business. They're out there using automated valuation modeling to determine pricing. And then they want to get into the mortgage business, right? I mean, back in 2015, you know, former Zillow CEO Spencer Rascoff said very clearly that they were not a real estate company. He said that they were a real estate media company, right? They sell ads, not houses. That was the tune that he was singing just as little as 2015, right? But by 2017, that all had changed. Oh yes, the word had got out. You know, the OfferPads of the world were out there making money, and now we need to get into this and we need to make mortgages, right? Now, when you think about this, if you're an iBuyer and you're buying homes and then you're turning around and you're selling homes and you're making repairs and doing all of these sorts of things, you know, what is the biggest problem that you have? Now, if you've sold real estate for more than a day, you know, they said it right here. Getting a mortgage is often the hardest, most complicated part of buying a home. And since our inception, Zillow's been empowering people with information and resources to make smarter real estate decisions. So, in November of 2018, the only way to handle this is to get rid of the appraisals. I mean, if the biggest problem you're going to have in the financing is your appraisal, well then the fly in the ointment is the appraisal. You just got to get rid of the appraisal. So in 2018, November 2018, just a few months later, after Open Door, OfferPad, and now Zillow are providing values, buying homes, and writing mortgages, the FDIC decides to raise the proposed appraisal requirements to $400,000. Now, needless to say, this applies to any bank that is guaranteed by the FDIC, meaning that you don't have to have an appraisal anymore up to $400,000. If you're trying to get a property and you're trying to get a loan amount up to $400,000, it used to be you had to get an appraisal to make sure the property was worth that, to make sure that there was no repairs needed, to make sure that it wasn't filled with mold. Well, they said, you know what, we're going to do away with all that. And the Appraisal Institute and 5 other companies, 5 other public interest groups reached out to the FDIC and asked them for a public hearing and saying, look, this is a big change. Okay, this is not something you want to do because this is the bulwark of protection to make sure that the lenders are not going to get stuck and the buyers are not going to get stuck with a home that's overpriced. Well, they responded, after reviewing your letter and considering the discussion in the conference call, we don't believe that holding a public hearing would elicit relevant information that would be conveyed through the comment process. In other words, hit us up in the comments section because we don't want to hear from you. And then, guess what? They went ahead and approved it. Absolutely. That's absolutely right. They went ahead and approved it August 21st, just yesterday. They went ahead and approved the final rule to increase the residential appraisal threshold from $250,000 to $400,000 effective after publication in the Federal Public Register within 60 days. So essentially, folks, the government had all the comments that it decided that it needed to have. Meanwhile, U.S. Treasury yield curve stays inverted, right? And the politicians and Americans are bickering over the reality of an inverted yield curve and what it really means. And if it's fake news or if it's somebody else's plot to take down an American president. Listen, all the while, the probability of a U.S. recession hovers around 35% by June 2020. That's not me saying it. That's Zillow and a bunch of other economists and people that have no dog in this fight. Listen, not every single thing is a political issue. Sometimes we have to realize that sometimes the end of the train is up, and these things have a cycle. And worldwide, Germany and the EU and a lot of other places are having problems that other places have. And regardless of the causes, it is clear with the median sales price of an American home being under $280,000, no appraisal needed is a very dangerous proposition. I mean, even though everything's appearing to go well, okay, the yield split, right? This is some dangerous signs ahead. You know, not within the last 12 months, you've had an inverted yield curve 9 times since World War II. You've had a prediction of this magnitude come true within the next, 365 days or so because of the length of an inverted curve. This is not politics. This is not somebody turning this around and making the news a certain way. This is just consumer confidence in the way things have been going. And you don't really have to be a rocket scientist or a politician to see this. Now, I understand for many of the people who are listening to this, yield curves and recession talk and politics is far beyond what we typically talk about on the Red Pill Investor. But let me tell you why I bring this up. I bring this up because your customers and your clients are bringing this up. Your customers, your clients, they're thinking this through. Now, if you've got a customer and you've got a client, maybe it's your dad. I was at a customer's home today who's looking to sell his property. He's looking to sell homes. Look, the median sales price for a home in America right now is about $280,000. In the next 60 days, they're not going to have an appraisal anymore. The inventory itself, well, we've got a 4.2 month supply worth of inventory on the market right now, which means if nobody else put another home on the market, we'd run out of homes to sell in 4 months. When you think about it, over half the homes that sold in the first 30 days. It doesn't take too long to sell. And nearly 12%, almost 11% of the properties that sold, all right, were sold through cash transactions. That is almost an all-time high. It's down from 20% a year ago. Now listen, obviously there's a lot less short sales, a lot less distressed type sales. What does this mean when you have a lot of good news? Well, I mean, obviously their sales are up and the median sales price are up and the inventory is down and there's a lot less homes to choose from, and that's all good news for American homeowners. But the reality of this information is simply this, that when you're trying to sell your property, okay, that's posing a problem for you. Because look, when you're trying to sell your home, well, where are you going to move to? I mean, the biggest problem we have with America right now is tenured home growth. Americans are not wanting to move. They're wanting to stay in their homes because, listen, they could move, but where would they go? And if you're a real estate professional, you've probably heard this. That's why many people that you know right now, if they've got a second home and they need to sell it because they don't need it anymore, this is a good time to sell because the market's good. Because when you think about it, the housing starts themselves have fallen for the 3rd consecutive month. Why is that important to you? Well, it's very simple. The housing market's when you don't have that many more homes coming on the market, there's fewer homes for people to choose from. And in theory, even though things are going well with a low mortgage rate and there's fewer homes to choose from and the rates are going up, the values of homes are going up, even though all these are good fundamental signs, that does not mean that there's going to be this in perpetuity. The signs are on the horizon, and it's time for us to take action and help our family and friends. Thank you for paying attention, and if you know someone who could use this message, please share that with them. And as always, have